And may we say a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Township of Douro-Dummer's council meeting here on the 2nd of November. And we welcome everyone in our final meeting before Remembrance Day. And I'm going to call the roll, and we'll make sure everyone is aware of who is here on council. First of all, Deputy Mayor Moher. Councillor Watt.
Present.
Councillor Landsman.
I'm here, present.
And Councillor Watson. Good, thank you. Our staff joining us today, our CAO, Alana Arthurs. Alana, you're there somewhere. There you go. Our acting clerk, Martina Chade-Hardwig, is here. Martina, thank you. And our interim treasurer, Paul Creamer. Paul, welcome to you as well. So with all council in attendance, I'll officially call the meeting to order at 5:02 on the 2nd of November, 2021. We respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga-Anishinaabe Nation, and we offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and their teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Please join us for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you very much. Adoption of the minutes from October 19th. Sorry, no, we'll adopt tonight's agenda before we do that, please. A motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Sheila and Heather, all in favor? That motion's approved. The minutes from the 19th of October, please. A motion to receive and approve those minutes. Carl and Tom, all in favor? That motion is approved. Is there any business arising out of the minutes, Madam Clerk?
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Barrett. We just need to do a disclosure of pecuniary interest.
Oh, sorry, didn't do that, did I? Any pecuniary interest with anyone? Okay, seeing no hands. Business arising out of the minutes, anybody? Okay, we're going to move right along. We're going to have a very organized meeting tonight. Delegations, petitions, and presentations. And we do have a public meeting, and this is for a zoning bylaw amendment. I'm going to ask for a motion to open the public meeting, please. Tom and Sheila, all in favor? That motion is approved. And we are officially into the public meeting now for R0921. And I'm going to ask Martina if she will review the facts for us, please. And then we will get to our special guests who are here over this matter. So Martina, go ahead.
Thank you. So we do have Mr. Kevin Duguay with us. He's the agent on this application. We did have a previous public meeting I believe it was the first meeting in October, but that meeting was deferred to tonight due to some issues with signage. All of those were corrected, and the correct signage has been maintained throughout this process. We did send out new notices again to the neighbors and to all of our stakeholders. So the application that's before you is for Wildfire Golf Course. They've applied for a zoning bylaw amendment to amend the zoning on the parcel to allow for a new golf storage building to be constructed adjacent to the existing clubhouse. The subject lands are currently zoned Commercial Tourist 1, which is CTR1 zone, Open Space, ORS1 zone, and Environmental Constraint Zone, EC. The effect of the zoning bylaw amendment is to amend the zoning of the subject property to permit the construction of the second golf cart storage building. There were studies submitted with this application. There's an engineering letter from Engage Engineering, an environmental opinion letter from Cambium, a source water management report from Engage Engineering, and a planning justification report from Kevin Duguay. This property, as it is a commercial property, is also going through a site plan amendment process. We're currently waiting for this zoning process to continue moving forward, and then a site plan agreement will be coming forward to council. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the growth plan. We have received comments on this application. They're the same as the ones from the first public meeting. So a letter from DM Wills regarding a peer review. Curve Lake First Nations sent in a letter that they have no concerns. Enbridge Gas, no concerns. Autonomy Region Conservation Authority, no concerns. Pine Ridge District School Board, no concerns. And County of Peterborough Infrastructure, no concerns. At this time, we've received no other comments from the public. And so staff are recommending that this zoning bylaw amendment be approved, and that the zoning bylaw amendment also be approved at the correct time during this meeting, which will be after the public meeting.
Okay, thank you, Martina. And the opportunity now for members of council to ask questions. You can go ahead right now before I go to the applicant's representative. Questions from members of council. You've had the reports. No questions at all? Okay, it is time now to hear from the applicant, and Mr. Duguay is representing this. And Kevin, we're more than happy to hear you. We're not hearing you, though.
Hear me now.
Hear you now. Good.
All right. Time to get some new headphones.
I think so.
I'll start over. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, members of council. And thank you, Martina, for your staff report and your assistance throughout processing of this application. It's interesting, Your Worship, that I'm aware of other golf courses in Ontario that are essentially doing the same thing that Wildfire is having to do, is build larger storage buildings for golf carts to accommodate COVID protocols. That's how all this started. And we acknowledge that the zoning today has restrictions on the size of accessory buildings, hence why the zoning. We have also filed a site plan, an application to amend the existing site plan agreement, which Martina has identified is in process and we expect should be able to be finalized soon. I have reviewed the staff report and I have no issues with the conclusions generated through the report. I make myself available to respond to any questions of council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. Is there anyone else here, just to be formal, would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone who would like to speak against the application? This is also your opportunity. Okay. Seeing no hands or no people wanting to speak either way, I'll again turn it over to council if you have any questions or concerns over this application. Go ahead, Carl. You're muted, Carl.
Going through the reports in detail, I find there's much detail. It seems to be for put up an additional accessory building. Is there that much detail with any of these business accessory buildings come along?
Go ahead, Martina.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. Because this property already had a site plan in place that was registered on title, not only are we going through the zoning process to change the zoning, which was very strict, to make it a bit more lenient to allow the second building, but we're also amending the site plan agreement that's on file. So we have to create a new document that will also be registered on the property. And so we needed all of these studies to be able to fulfill both parts of that. And so we put all of the studies together into one package. So we weren't doing it piecemeal and having to go back and forth between all of the peer reviewers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Kevin, did you want to?
Yes, Your Worship, I can add for Deputy Mayor Moher's benefit, when we started this process, the scope and risk range of studies was even greater. So what we were able to do with work with Martina and then the county was to narrow and scope the nature of studies. But I concur that the nature of studies required in this case, because of the parameter zoning, and you had a site plan that is based on documents that are 15, 16 years old, it was appropriate to have these studies provided and prepared in this instance.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any other questions? Any comments from any members of council? I have a motion then to close the public meeting. Carl and Sheila, all in favor? That motion is approved. With your permission, I will bring forward bylaw 2021-59 under item 11.1 to approve that bylaw if you so choose. Tom?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I would make a motion to approve that bylaw in this instance and thank the recipients very much for the patience they had with the little hiccup we had on this.
Do we have a seconder? Carl, all in favor? Okay, that motion is approved, and Kevin, the normal 20-day appeal period applies. I'm sure you understand that concept by now.
I do indeed, Your Worship.
I wonder.
Thank you to council and staff again for your assistance with this file. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Bye for now.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. Goodbye. Okay, let's move to item 9, other business and staff reports. I am going to turn it over to Alana, and she's going to give an update on the Birchview Road situation. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation on this report is that CAO 2021-41 report dated November 2nd, 2021 regarding Birchview Road update be received for information, and that staff be directed to provide a report on the findings of the road risk assessment for Birchview Road once it is complete. I did provide a little bit of background information for council just in what had transpired with regards to Birchview specifically, which was actually prior to my arrival. I know there was some discussion at that time about conducting another study, the safety feasibility study. So the road risk assessment won't be quite the same, although I think it will provide council at least with some additional detail on whether there are some true concerns with Birchview Road that have to be addressed from a safety perspective. So the recommendation is that we wait until we have that road risk assessment. We're going through the budget process right now, and there are some projects in that capital budget. We are probably going to have to scale back some, so it'll be a matter of prioritizing. So I think it's important to wait for this to come back so that we can determine where council wants to put the priorities for 2022.
Comments from anyone? Questions? Carl, go ahead.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Ilana, for the update, and I'm in support of delaying it. However, I'm getting calls from other roads to ask for similar types of treatment, and I'm hard pressed to recommend what I should be moving forward to this council. So I guess at some point these could be more formal. However, we'll let it go for now. However, there are other concerns from people on other roads as well. Similar, very similar.
Okay, thank you for that, Carl. I've also had calls of a similar nature. Anyone be prepared to receive and support that recommendation? Heather?
Actually, Your Worship, I had a question first, if I could.
Go ahead.
Of staff, thank you. Through you, I understand the recommendation to wait until we get that report. Your audio was a little off, and I couldn't quite make out. Do you have a sense as to when that report's coming forward, what the timeline is?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they were hopeful to get it completed this fall. I know that they have been working on the roads needs study, which we just received a draft on, so you'll get some additional information with regard to some other roads with that as well. So they were going to make every attempt to try to get that done immediately after. It really is dependent on weather. So we have a commitment that they're trying their best, but we are waiting to find out how long it will actually take them to complete it.
Great, thank you for that. And just another question, and Your Worship, perhaps you would be able to address this. I recall that we had the mayor's action committee or advisory committee on roads, and to Deputy Mayor Moher's point about having a channel for this to come through. I don't recall the scope and mandate of that. Would that be a committee that perhaps a group, a way that mechanism could come forward with other folks who have concerns? I too have heard concerns from folks.
It's probably a possibility. That committee was basically designed to look after the situation we had a couple of years ago with the poor road conditions and the bad gravel or whatever the conditions were. That's what that committee looked after. So I'm not quite sure if it's the same, but something I guess to consider. We've got safety issues on every road in the township. Our police service board heard about all that yesterday. And it's not just one road, it's a terrible situation. Anyway, that's, I guess, something we could consider, but it really wasn't designed for that type of thing. But who's to say the rules can't change? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Thank you for the report, Lana. That was, I do agree, we should probably hold off and get all our eggs in one basket before we make any major decisions. How that's going to affect our budget process, I'm not really sure. But I do appreciate the fact that in the other minutes that we have here from our department heads, that our roads department has already done a fair bit of work, on these issues and stuff like that. So it's not like we're sitting on our hands. So I have no problem waiting a little bit longer. Thank you.
Could I hear a motion from someone then, please? Carl?
I'll move the recommendation.
Seconder, please. Sheila. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? That motion is approved. 9.2 is Alana again with lawn maintenance. You are cut up tonight, Alana. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that CAO 2021-43 report dated November 2nd, 2021 regarding lawn maintenance contract extension be received, and that council approve a 1-year extension of the grass cutting contract for municipal properties with Cutting Edge Landscape Services. I do know that this came back last year. There was an extension put in for a year. We've come back and asked for 1 additional year. I think there may be an opportunity to look at it over 2022 and potentially bring it in-house. So I understand that the Cutting Edge Landscaping Services has done the grass cutting for some time. The service has been done well, and he's prepared to maintain the contract for us for 1 more year. So the timing will be good for us to take a look and see how we want to handle it moving forward.
Good report. Questions? Anyone wishing to make a motion, please? Alana researched that one very well. Go ahead, Sheila.
Yes, I would make a motion to follow the recommendation and extend the contract for 1 year.
Seconder, Heather, did I see your hand up? Discussion on the motion? All in favor? Motion is approved. Martina, we'll turn it to you about the proposed draft election sign and advertisement bylaw. You can update us on that, please.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the recommendation that is before council is that the report Clerk Planning Department 2021-37 dated November 2nd, 2021 regarding a proposed draft election sign and advertisement bylaw be received, that policy C4, election campaign material, federal and provincial elections be repealed, that staff bring back a new policy regarding the use of corporate resources for election purposes, and the rental of facilities for election purposes, and finally, that the draft bylaw be approved at the appropriate time during this meeting. The draft bylaw is numbered 2021-66. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Martina. Comments on that report? Everything is very clear and on the table tonight. Any comments on that at all? Motion then, please. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, sorry. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I did have a comment or two. And it was one that I brought up last time, last election services, and it has to do with the distance of the signs off of township roads. I did have a discussion with Crystal last time on this because the distance back from the portion of the road that it has the signs back in so far that unless you have 6-foot stakes on them, people can't even see them because the grass is so high. And I asked her at that particular time why we couldn't change that to having where the actual township cuts the grass. So that's probably about a 4-foot blade width on the side of the road where they actually cut the grass down, which would let people's signs be actually seen. So she said this would be the time to bring that up. The other question I might have would be about facilities. And if I rent a facility, I definitely want it in my township to have a meeting, for people to come and meet me type thing, whatever. So I'm not quite sure about renting township facilities for that purpose. Could very well be, it's my building then for that particular time in my eyes, but I'm certainly open to discussion on that.
Martina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Watt. Both of those issues have been addressed through this bylaw. So the two concerns that you had, the first one regarding the location of signs, that was found in policy C4, which I'm requesting we repeal. And the same thing with the ban on facility rentals, that was also within those policies. And so if council approves the advertising policy and the signage policy, the signage bylaw this evening, which is before you, then I will be bringing back a policy at the next council meeting to allow candidates to rent municipal facilities and place signs on those municipal facilities during their rental times for campaign events. So both of your concerns would be addressed through this process that I'm proposing, because the concerns you have are with old policies that I'm asking to repeal.
Okay. I see Mr. Stonehouse is with us. Hi, Glenn. Are you hearing us? Glenn, are you hearing us? Hello. Anyway, Martina, Mr. Stonehouse, just a little late getting on. He's connecting to audio. Glenn, are you there? Yeah, no, you're muted, Glenn. Yeah.
Did you want to speak with me?
No, nothing personal, but no. We have dealt with your matter, by the way, and it has been approved.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much. I apologize for trying to get on. I actually just landed in the States, and I was trying to get on for 5. But well, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
It's all done, and thank you for being with us.
All right. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, back to the business at hand. We would entertain a motion then, please, for that recommendation under item 9.3. Carl? You're muted, Carl. We're having real mute problems, all of us tonight.
To retrain myself, I guess.
I know, we're all having the same problem.
My question, further question is, I trust this will be consistent with the county policies as well, what's proposed, because we have a number of county roads in our township, and of course township roads and provincial highways, and different policies for different jurisdictions will be really confusing to future candidates.
Go ahead, Martina.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Moher. The county hasn't released their details on what they would like to do with election signs. We do specifically state in this bylaw that candidates need to be respectful and maintain any regulations that the county imposes upon them, same as MTO. But I do know that this policy is in line with what North Kawartha has just recently put in place at a meeting about a month ago. So at least our jurisdictions will be similar for any candidates who are on our borders.
Okay, Carl.
I guess my point is people don't know whether they're on a township or a county road. And hopefully the candidates coming forward would know. However, it might be a little bit confusing if it's drastically different.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are going to be organizing candidates information sessions.
Okay.
As a county-wide activity. So all candidates, whether they're in Otonabee, South Monaghan or Douro-Dummer or elsewhere, will all be in the same session. So they'll all hear the same information.
Good. That'll be good.
Okay, who's making that motion?
I'll move it.
Carl, seconder. Heather? All in favor? All in favor? That motion is approved. Martina, again, with the draft proposal of a new procedural bylaw. And this is a draft, and I guess it's going to come back at a future meeting after you receive our comments. Go ahead, Martina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the recommendation that's before you is that the Clerk Planning Report 2001-38 dated November 2nd, 2021, regarding the proposed draft procedural bylaw be received, that council review the documents attached and provide comments to staff no later than November 19th, 2021, and that an updated draft bylaw return on December 7th, 2021. I'm happy to answer any questions. Quite a lot of work has gone into this by our little committee, and it's been really appreciated to have them on board working with me on this.
Could I maybe request that you send it in a separate file to us so I can print it and have it in my little hand?
Absolutely.
That will be beneficial. Okay, that's the recommendation. Carl, go ahead.
I would,
You're muted, Carl.
I wouldn't mind picking up a copy if possible. It's rather lengthy and with the different colors would be much appreciated. And also, are there any major things that we're doing now that we as counselors won't be able to do? Is there anything that comes to mind, Martina?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe there's anything that we're taking away. I think we're clarifying a lot of the things we do or we have done that don't quite meet current legislation or best practices. So we found ways to perhaps allow the action to take place, but in a slightly different manner so that we are current and compliant. But I don't think there's anything drastic that we're taking away. Perhaps the only thing is reconsideration has always been a struggle at our council table. So we have reworked that whole process and made it much simpler and more effective so that we are not getting ourselves tripped up on what reconsideration means and the timelines and all of that.
Okay. Let me know when it's ready and I'll pick it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like a written printed copy too. Tom?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I also would like a copy if I could, Martina. Maybe all of council would. I'm not really sure, but that's three of us for sure. And I'd like to thank you all for a lot. This is a lot of work gone into this, and it is easier on a paper copy. I do agree with Councillor Moher, with the changes that have been made and certain things. And I also think besides the one that you just brought up, the notices of motion, whatever, to make that more streamlined and easier, having it drag out longer, because sometimes those are issues that we need to get right away. And when you got to go 3 or 4 meetings, that's a long time. So I do appreciate all the work that's gone into this. Thank you.
So pretty much some house cleaning here with it, I think, is the interpretation I'm getting. So we will deal with that at what meeting? The next meeting?
For you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like comments by November 19th, and then we will bring it forward to the first meeting in December.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Nope, that's good. Sounds like a good idea. Sheila, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to Martina. So if you're printing out copies, they're going to be in color so people can tell what they're, I wouldn't mind a copy as well. I'm happy to pick it up.
Great.
Thank you.
That motion is on the floor, I believe, Martina.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a mover or a seconder.
Okay, Heather and Tom, all in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, now we talk money like we always like to. Paul, you're on the line here, and this is the Modernization funding update. And we're all ears with our pockets open. Go ahead.
This report in front of you, there was a request earlier in the year to give a status of where these grant funds are at. And this report breaks down what has been spent or committed to date. This report is close to budget, and budget is in the final stages for a first draft anyways. And there will be some recommendations on how to use some of the funds that are outstanding or unallocated, I should say, in the first draft of the budget.
Thank you for that, Paul. Questions from anyone? Okay, everyone's very cooperative today. Heather?
Your Worship, I will move to receive the information.
Seconded by
For information.
Tom. All in favor? That motion is approved. Paul, you got off real easy. Now get back to work and go find us some more money.
I'm working on it.
Good. Attaboy. Thank you very much, Paul. Committee minutes, other reports. Deputy Mayor Moher, a quick review of county matters. Go ahead.
Sure. I'll just highlight a couple things. Last Friday, County Council met and went through the Public Works Service Delivery Review findings and recommendations. Very detailed report done by the same consultant that did our service review a few years ago. And some of the highlights, there was issues regarding customer service strategy. There was issues regarding technology. There's a fair amount of work to be done on technology. And I guess that wasn't new to our ears because we had similar issues in our township when our review was done as well. Many processes that were found to have 2 and 3 and 4 people touching before it's completed. And also planning, they looked at planning performance and reporting and looked at various standards, various processes, and the information that was portrayed, was put forward was very detailed and will be very helpful to the individuals involved. Feel free to look at the county site if you wish more details, and it should be still on there, and the full report is there, including the findings in more detail and the recommendations. Also looking at perhaps a 311 system. Anyone that listens to Toronto radio stations or TV stations, I believe they started 311 in Durham and Toronto, I think yesterday. And 311 allows individuals reporting something. The person that takes the call will route it to the county, to the township, or the lower tier, the higher tier, or the province. Because quite often, as I mentioned earlier, people don't know what jurisdiction they're in, or quite often don't know. So that should help and could be considered for our area as well. The next thing we talked about on Friday afternoon was the growth plan, growth in our area. And just for interest's sake here, over the last 5 years, from 2016 to 21, there was an increase of 242 people in Douro-Dummer. Not a whole lot compared to the high growth areas of Cavan-Monaghan, where there was just under 1,400, Selwyn just under 1,000, and Otonabee South Monaghan 700, and Trent Lakes had 538. And also Norwood Asphodel had 616. So, but most of those locations I mentioned with the higher numbers have services, water and sewer. So that makes a big difference. Where are we going? The next forecast between 2021 and 51, they're anticipating a 5% growth in Douro-Dummer, which represents about 540 people. And the other municipalities with services are much greater than that. They're also going back to the province, suggesting that their province objective for growth appears quite a bit higher than we anticipate will be. So they're hoping for some relief for the province on that. So here again, that information is on the website as well if you want more information about it. And I think that's about it for now, unless there's anything else I missed, Jay.
No, I think you pretty well rounded it out. Thank you for that, Carl. Any questions on that report? Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. I've certainly heard lots of conversation about the transportation plan and the impact on some of the city neighbors. I did hear that a motion was passed at City Council last night that would provide a little bit of relief to us. I'm just curious what, obviously not commenting on the City Council motion, but where county is on that issue, as it does have impact on some areas in our municipalities.
Yeah, the county have certainly listened to that concern. Some of these things, particularly the Douro-Dummer impact, that's been on the books for years and years and years. There was really nothing new about that. But we directed our planning staff to investigate and take the dust off any potential controversy and get back to us. So, as you said, the city have backed off. I think it was more terminology than anything else. And it seems these days they find any reason at all to find some kind of a conflict, and that's got to stop. But anyway, our planning staff are right on top of it, and they'll be reporting if there's any problems at all. Carl, do you agree?
Yes, I do. And there's one county councillor, Scott McFadden, that's on the city transportation committee. I think there's just one, Jay, or is there more than one? And he keeps us up to date relative to all the concerns that are going on. But certainly the removal of the parkway from the plan is concerning to especially Selwyn and Kevin Monaghan. But hopefully our planning staff will keep an eye, real close eye on it.
Okay, anybody else? Motion then to receive that report. Sheila and Heather, all in favor? That motion is approved. We move to departmental reports, item 10.2, all of our departments. That is certainly one of the best things we've had on our agenda. It certainly keeps us up to date. A motion, please, to receive those reports. Heather?
Yep.
And Carl?
And a quick question.
Go ahead.
I noticed, Ilana, you had a meeting to discuss IT services. For anything there to report yet, or it's something in being further considered?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are still taking a look at it. We have had some initial discussions with the county. We also had received a package from Microwave prior to my arrival here, so we've reviewed that just to try to compare what we have. And we're exploring some other ideas as well. Obviously, IT is something that we all need assistance with, it seems, on a regular basis. So the customer service aspect of things is very important, not to mention, I think, there's some upgrading that we need to do here. So we are doing some full investigation just to see what might work best. Hopefully, we will find some cost savings in doing that as well and have some improved services.
There probably is some information in the IT of the service review, the IT portion of the service review that makes for some pretty good savings if centralizing of IT, especially on programs that we all use.
Yep. But you're on it, Alana, and
Yep.
that's good to hear. Tom, go ahead.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. I see our public works manager is not on tonight, but I don't need an answer to this right away. But I did bring it up in the service review as we were trying to cut costs, and it's getting to that time of year again. For our people that do our roads checks through the November, December, January, February, March type thing like that. I'd asked at that time because, and I'll just use, for instance, up at the northeast end of our township, Stony Lake Road. So our person goes up there to do the roads check and, to make sure the weather's not intermittent and stuff like that, what it's like. The county also sends someone up there. Havelock Belmont also sends somebody up there. And right in that area is also North Corliss. So my suggestion at that particular time was to try and coordinate so that we can cut a lot of it out and not overlap everybody. So I'm hoping that that's something that Jake's looking into and trying to work with the other places and see if we can knock some of that mileage down and some of that time down for our staff.
And that's where technology can certainly come in handy, I hope, sooner than later. Alana, any response to that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have not had conversations with Jake regarding that, but I will touch base with him and ask him to follow up and send an email to council.
Heather?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, also a question on the Public Works report. Perhaps Alana can address or carry forward. But first of all, a positive comment. I know that some of the efforts were delayed this year for doing some of the road resurfacing and what have you due to the weather. I happened to be out trick-or-treating in the Donwood neighborhood and heard from a lot of residents in that community, just really happy with the work and the service, even just while the work was going on, the lack of disruption, if you will. So some positive feedback there. My question is related to the comment on the Halls Glen transfer station in Jake's report about it's still not being fully open, specifically the mattress drop-off and reuse center. I talked to him before about the mattress drop-off. I'm curious about the reuse center. Now that we're at this stage of reopening, I just don't even understand. I don't know what the requirements are to not have the reuse center open, if it's being able to keep the area clean or what the case may be. But is there a hope to get that open again at some point in the near future?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, I can speak with Jake and ask him if he's had conversations specifically with the health unit. I have not. I would assume it definitely is, the sanitization and that sort of thing as we're going through all those protocols everywhere else. I know other municipalities also closed the reuse center, so we can definitely take a look at it and see what the status is and what others are doing and how feasible it is to reopen.
Thank you. I am concerned it is something that might be going to, I understand we got to keep the faith paramount, but I'm also concerned that a lot of that stuff now is ending up in landfills probably because people are tired of storing it and maybe don't want to sell it on, those third-party websites kind of thing. So just some food for thought if it's possible.
Unfortunately, it's a slow, careful process to get back to normal, and I think it's happening very slowly. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? That motion is approved. 10.3 is the library board minutes of September 14th. A motion to receive those minutes, please. Tom and Heather, all in favor? And next item, historical committee minutes from October 14th. Sheila, did you want to add anything? You'll move to receive them?
Yes, I will, and I'd like to make a couple of comments, if I may.
From Carl. Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. First of all, the person who was recording the minutes is not the regular secretary, and she just basically took down everything. She did indicate that the budget figure was for 2021, which should be 2022. And so that unless anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer any questions I could.
Carl, go ahead.
Just a question regarding that budget number for 2022. Will that complete the job, or how much more is anticipated?
Through the chair, no, that will not complete the job, Carl. But what we have done is we had quite a discussion at our last meeting, and the plan is to just at this moment try and get a handle on exactly what needs to be done to keep it safe. Like, for instance, the grate on top of the kiln itself and things like that. And with the hope that possibly, for instance, landscaping could maybe be helped out with by the township. It need not be fancy and things like that. One of our board members is going to speak to Whitey Hammersma and see if he can get a price from him as to exactly what it would take to make it safe, not to make it pretty. And we don't have an answer to that yet. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Very wise move, I think. This has been going on for quite a while. Yeah. Well,
yes, it has, and it's a good project, and it's good for the township, but it was not like sort of a 1-year project, as we all know.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, we have a couple of, one bylaw left, I guess. Martina, go ahead with the bylaws.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's bylaw 2021. 66 being a bylaw to manage and regulate election signs and election campaign advertisements, including third-party advertising, which was discussed earlier in the meeting.
Okay, a motion to approve that bylaw. Sheila? Seconder? Heather, all in favor? That bylaw is approved as of right now. We have no action items. We have 2 information items from Ontario Good Roads and Roma. A motion to receive those notes of correspondence, please. Tom? And? Sheila, all in favor? Motion is approved. No notices of motion that I'm aware of. Announcements. Carl, I understand you'd like to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to thank members of council and staff for the many, many condolences in form of cards and emails and telephone calls that I received in the last while. They were very much appreciated. And very many of these cards and emails came from residents in the township as well. So it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Carl. And my only announcement is the Remembrance Day Service for the township as I look at your poppies on during this meeting, which is very nice. Our Remembrance Day Service again this year will be virtual. We have produced the entire ceremony again, and we invite everyone to tune to the township's YouTube page shortly before 11 o'clock on Remembrance Day. And we hope and pray this is the last time we have to do it this way. We hope next year we'll have a huge service live and direct at our cenotaph. So please spread the word to everyone you know. Send out emails if you can. Join us before 11 o'clock on the township's YouTube channel for our 2021 Remembrance Day service. Any other announcements? Okay. We have no closed session. We have a confirming bylaw, please. Carl and Heather, all in favor? That motion's approved. And finally, a motion to adjourn the meeting. Sheila and Heather, all in favor? That motion is approved. That's it for our meeting here on the 2nd of November. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on YouTube, either live or the recorded version. And this is our last meeting before Remembrance Day, so we do ask everyone to wear a poppy, and let's all remember for the right reasons. Thank you. We'll see you at our next meeting in 2